Hi everybody, this is Michael Hildebrand and I'm your host on the Sleeptrust podcast, where I'm talking about how to gain back trust in your ability to have a superb sleep again.
In this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast, we are going to talk about meditation. And I know that many of you out there have been waiting for me to pick up on this topic. And that's why we're not going to do one podcast, but we're going to have a full series covering the topic in depth or in width, at least, to show you where you can use meditations for and how it can help you to basically really boost building up your sleep trust. And when I say sleep trust, I mean our capabilities, your, mine, everybody's, to have a superb sleep. And this is, by the way, when it comes to me, our natural birthright. So let's kick off this episode with having a brief look of what meditation is. Because if you Google meditation, you'll find probably at least dozens, probably hundreds of different meditation types and names. And that's not really going to help you. So we're going to keep it simple here and break it down to the core of what a meditation is and does, and give you an understanding of the power of meditation. And it is absolutely powerful in building not only your sleep trust, but you can utilize it in so many different ways. So that's the goal of this podcast episode. So what is meditation? This is a very broad field. So if you Google meditation, you'll find probably hundreds of different meditation types and opinions. But basically what we do when we meditate is that we turn our thoughts, our focus into the inside. We calm doing so. We get into this relaxed state of mind that is really centered in ourselves. And what happens in our bodies is basically, if you remember the episode I had a couple of weeks ago about the sleep cycle, when we fall asleep, our brains go through different stages, altering the brain waves, going from high active brain waves, which are faster ones, up to almost 40 hertz, which are 40 waves a second, down to delta brain waves, which are 0.5 waves per second, so really slow ones. And if we meditate, we alter our brain waves in a similar way, so they're getting slower, we're calming down, we're relaxing. And the difference to falling asleep is that we, in my words, keep a conscious part of our brain active and focused and concentrated to simply not just drift into sleep, because that can easily happen. And I'm probably the best person to prove that, right? Because I fall asleep in every third meditation I do, which is nothing to brag around with, but it just happens to me. So that's basically what meditation is. And I think that definition will be enough for us to move on to which kinds of meditations we will find out there. But before we dig into the different meditation types that are out there, let me put one statement out right here for all of those who are thinking or asking themselves, am I able to meditate? And the simple answer is yes, you can. So yes, you can. Right. That's a cool one. I think if you would be one to get president, that could work. So give it a try. No, you definitely can. What you will have to do to be able to is, first of all, put in a little bit of practice. We'll walk you through there, probably not today, but I'll find an easy way to show you how to get started, I'm sure. And you will have to believe that you can, because there's nothing you can achieve if you don't believe that you can. So you should take my word for it. You can meditate, and I'm going to show you a couple of simple steps. So let's move on from there and have a look at the meditation types that you will find out there. And as mentioned, there are so many, we're not going to dig into all of them. So I put them together into categories that kind of made sense for me, and that you'll find out there too. So it's not an invention of me. I just put them into those categories that I think are quite important to walk through today. Let's start with the first one. These are more the body-focused ones. They're called body scan, or they kind of have progressive methods in there too. What you do in these is basically that you really focus on your bodies, starting at your toes and wandering up until you arrive at your head, or the other way around, and kind of feel if you have any tension in your body and try to release that and get really calm and relaxed doing so. So these meditations are typically good if you're trying to get rid of stress, or also if you have chronic pain in your body. The next big category we want to have a look at, I call the love and kindness category. You can put gratitude into that one too. They all basically work the same. You get your body, your minds pumped with good emotions. You think of love, you feel love in every cell of your body, the same with gratitude or kindness. And it just brings you into this really positive state. You really feel good and loved and connected. And depending on the variation you use or choose, you can also send out love to people in your environment. These meditations are really powerful if you, first of all, want to feel good and feel happier. You also want to use them to get rid of anger, and you may also want to use them to actually make your relationships work better. So that's the second big category. The third one is about mindfulness. This is the classic meditation, at least what most of us find to be the classic meditation. You get quiet, you get very centered and focused in your own body. You kind of get into a non-judging state and let thoughts pass through, quiet down, calm down your thoughts. And this category is basically the foundation for the next we're going to talk about. We're going to come to that in a second. And you would typically use this one to reduce stress and anxiety. So if you're quiet and relaxed, you're not going to be stressed. That's basically what's behind that. And you can also use it to get into a very focused state of mind, to prepare for exams, to get laser focused on certain topics if you want to. It's a good jumping point to go there. So that's what you would like to do with mindfulness meditation. The last category I want to mention here is the transcendental meditation. And this is basically leveling up the mindfulness meditation. In my words, please keep in mind that this is oversimplifying. If you would ask somebody who really teaches meditation, you'd probably have different categories and different opinions on this. But it's kind of leveling up the mindfulness meditation with the big goal to reach an enlightenment. So it's kind of getting into this really deep awakened state of mind, and it's hooked up to spirituality. That's where you're going to find it most often, and it may be interesting for you too. In particular, handling or addressing sleep. We're not going to dig into that one, but I wanted to mention it here anyway. So the first thing that we really want to have a look at is how meditations can help us to handle stress better. Because stress is kind of the number one thing that shows up in all of our lives at one point or another. And to be very clear here, stress is nothing that comes from the outside. Even though the outside can help us to get stressed, stress is something that we have to take full responsibility of, and that really gets produced in our bodies, in our own minds. And that's also the reason, if you look around, you find people that are constantly stressed, and you find the other ones. Everything could be falling apart, and they would be quiet and relaxed as can be. That doesn't mean that they think that's all cool what's happening, if it's not good, but it means that they're calm and relaxed, and that they're not stressing themselves. And that way, if you think of what happens if we are stressed, things are not getting better. If we are stressed, our thoughts are just spinning around in our head. We're getting really a hard time to keep them in order, and we're missing out on things. And meditations are kind of this technique and tool to kick in the brakes. And everybody of us can really learn to do this. And that way, in only a matter of, let's say, a couple of seconds, we can calm our thoughts, everything gets sorted out, and we will feel so much better. So that's the reason why we're going to have a look at this one first in next week's episode and dig in deeper to show you and me and everybody out there how we can get even better in handling stress, of course using meditations. And I almost forgot to build the bridge to sleep here, because stress is kind of the exact opposite of sleeping. Our thoughts spin around, our heart rate peaks, our breath is shallow and fast, and sleeping is the exact opposite. We want to have our heart rate drop to lows. We want our mind to be slowed down. Our brain waves will slow down dramatically. When we're in deep sleep, down to 0.5 hertz, which is half a brain wave per second. So we really want to transform into this state before we go to sleep, and that's going to make things so much easier. The next thing we're going to have a look at is the topic of bad emotions. We really have to, I have to narrow it down here. We're going to have a podcast episode on anger. So if you're angry because people didn't do what you expected them to do, or they harmed you in the past, and you're thinking about that and getting angry, and that's a reason why you cannot fall asleep, then we're gonna dig into how meditations can help you to not only overcome that anger, but to completely get it out of your life. So we're gonna have a specific look at loving kindness, gratitude meditations, and see how these meditations will really help you to get into a positive emotion, to get into the state of forgiveness, and to free yourself doing so and being able to sleep again, of course. That's always our big goal at the topics that we look at. Not only that you feel better, you will also, of course, be able to sleep better. So we're going to do a podcast episode on that. And the last thing that we're going to have a deeper look at, and this is not even 100% meditation related, are affirmations. And for those of us out there that are not familiar with affirmations yet, you can imagine affirmations to be kind of a power sentence that's there to overrule or override your old beliefs. So if you, as an example, if you believe that you're kind of catching a flu quite frequently, and because you believe that you actually do get a flu quite frequently, you would like to have a power sentence like, with every breath I take, I get healthier and healthier. Or with every step I take, I get healthier and healthier. Or you get the idea. So affirmations, and you repeat this power sentence over a period of a day, over weeks, constantly to get that thing into your unconscious. And that's basically the key, the unconscious. So to do this in a meditative state is just so much more powerful, because in these states and with these brain waves, we're just so much nearer to our unconscious. Our unconscious is so much more open to our suggestions. So we really want to have a look at how we can benefit from this. And I think, if I'm not going to get any kind of new ideas when we're walking through the next podcast episode, which can perfectly happen, then we're going to end the meditation series with affirmations. With that, let's wrap up this episode of the Sleeptrust podcast. So meditations are kind of the way to bring us, center us, focus more on our bodies and our minds, and to bring us into this brainwave state that is kind of the step between being awake and falling asleep. There are 4 categories of meditations we had a look at today. It's the more body-focused, body scan kinds of meditations. They get the kindness, loving, gratitude affirmations, which are there to boost your emotions. Then we've got the mindfulness meditations, which are about centering and letting go of judging everything. And the fourth big category is the transcendental meditation, which is kind of off topic for us, but is a big thing in terms of spirituality. We want to use these meditations to handle things like stress, anxiety, anger, all these kind of emotions, and turn them to the better, to the positive for us. And we're going to have a detailed look at how that works for stress and for anger in the next 2 episodes. And we're going to close up this series with a last episode where we're going to talk about affirmations, which are power sentences to overrule our old beliefs that are not in our favor. So it's going to be a super interesting next couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode and that you tune in next week and the week after and the week after that, of course. And until then, have a superb sleep.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Sleeptrust podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to get further information on this podcast or material that will help you to gain back your sleep trust, please check out sleeptrust.eu. That's sleeptrust.eu, where you will get lots of information around sleep. And here comes some legal stuff. Everything on this podcast is my opinion only, so do not take it as an advice, as I am not a doctor, nor have I considered your personal situation. If you feel that you need medical advice, please consider getting an appointment at your doctor of trust. If you want to give me any kind of feedback on this podcast, feel free to email me at podcast@sleeptrust.eu. I hope you tune in again next week, and until then, have a good sleep.